Hello and welcome to Sharing Soulful Stories. Today I am here with Lizzie Moult. Welcome, Lizzie.
Hi, Jo. I'm so excited to be here with you.
I am so thrilled to have you. And let me tell everyone a little bit more about Lizzie. Lizzie Moult is an international speaker, podcast host, intuitive business consultant, and success coach, a world traveller and a modern-day hippie. Lizzie is the creator of Wild Success Australia, a company dedicated to inspiring and empowering conscious dream chasers to take action towards a life and business they love, because life is about so much more than conventional success. Lizzie works with ambitious entrepreneurs and business owners to awaken their wild side. Her flagship course, Be Wild in Business, empowers people to awaken their confidence while leaning into fear to grow their business. Lizzie has been working online for over 15 years with a background in graphic design and branding. It helped her launch her first business at the age of 23 and an award-winning blog a few years later. She's an expert at creating compelling brands, implementing systems and processes to make businesses run more effectively, and what it takes to be a rock star boss. Lizzie lives off the grid in the subtropical rainforest near Byron Bay, Australia. She is a minimalist who is dedicated to leaving a light footprint on the earth and promotes conscious living. Wow, Lizzie, it's so nice. There's so many things in there that I could ask you about. So thank you so much for joining us. I would love to ask you all about all the different parts of your bio, but today I'm here to ask you about spirituality. So I'm going to hit us off with the very first question, and that is, what does spirituality mean to you?
Okay, so I actually Googled this because I was like, oh, maybe I'm not spiritual enough. So I really had to dive into what spirituality was. And it's 100% what I believe in. So I'm just going to read you the actual description of what came up when I first Googled it, because I love this. It's the quality of being concerned with the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. And my whole philosophy about life is that it's about so much more than conventional success. And I was like, this is me in a nutshell. And yeah, I can't wait to dive in more about my story, because you'll understand why I had to look this up as to what is spiritual. I'm a newbie, theoretically.
I love that you Googled it. I love it. And do you know what I actually did too when I was putting this together? I was like, well, the actual kind of Oxford Dictionary definition was rubbish, but there was one on vocabulary.com or something. It was quite cool. And I was like, yeah, that's what it is. We just need to share it with people so they know that's what it is and don't go, oh, that's all too weird. I don't know what that is. So speaking of that, though, having just admitted that you're sort of a spiritual newbie, can you tell me whether spirituality has always been a part of your life? Now you know what it means. Or was there some sort of trigger event or life circumstance that drew you in?
It's definitely been a chain of events. However, the last 2 years, I have been exploring more self-awareness. And there was no real triggering as such. I think I just had a actually, I lie. It's one of Northern Rivers. So down here in Byron Bay, everyone here is so conscious. They are conscious about what they eat. They're conscious about who they interact with. They're conscious about the environment. They're conscious. So everyone that I was starting to meet started rubbing off on me, and I was like, okay, I am a country girl who is very different. We have similar backgrounds. I come from farming and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, over time, I was like, okay, these people are incredible. What is it about them that is so fascinating? And it was their level of consciousness and awareness about themselves and the greater around us environment. And over time, that kind of started niggling, and people were like, oh, read this book, read that book. And then I started exploring meditation, and I went into yin yoga, and I was like, oh, my mind is running 100 miles an hour. I need to slow that down. And it was interesting. I practice yoga and, all that sort of stuff. But I was like, okay, this is really challenging. I'm challenging my mind. From there, a friend of mine recommended a book by Joe Dispenza, and it's about breaking the habit of being yourself. I talk a lot about this book a lot to everybody and how much it's changed my life. I read that book twice. I read it the first time going, what the hell is he even talking about? 2, I was like, okay, take it back. Let's go back, reread, underline, and absorb the material. And now, yeah, it's just that book changed my way of being aware with my thoughts and my mind and how powerful that was. And then it must have been about the 11th of the 11th at 1 o'clock, 11 minutes past 1, I should say, I attended a breathwork workshop last year. Anyway, this was my first real deep spiritual, I guess, experience. And it was really interesting because I went on this crazy journey throughout this 1 hour and a half breathwork, deep immersion. And I came out of it, just a totally different person. Like my heart was like convulsing and palpitating out of my body, and I was like, oh my God, it's going to explode, what's happening? I was freaking out, but at the same time I was laying there in complete just like, this is just let this happen to me. Like, this is beautiful. I'm meant to be here. I chose to be here. I'm receiving this. And ever since, and it's something I had when I was younger, my hands have so much heat again. So for me, it's like I reconnected with my healing properties and like the magic of my hands. And yeah, ever since then, I've had a real fire in my belly, and it's now fueling me in my business.
Oh, I love all of that. There was this touching on the idea of being around more aware and conscious people that, raises your own awareness or starts that curiosity. And you mentioned like fascination of what is it about these people. And I also love that you raised Joe Dispenza's book, because later on we've got an interview with one of his workshop facilitators, among other things. That's something that she does, so she knows a lot about his work. And breathwork, like so many things that I know can have, like, it can be a book, it can be person, it can be a workshop that you attend that give you that moment of, I'm just tapping into what else is there than what I can see in front of me. So thank you so much for sharing all of those pieces. I wondered, I had this as a second question. You may feel like you've covered it already, but what have been the highs and the lows on that journey? Is there anything else that you'd love to share with everyone? Wonderful.
I do, because yes. So the really great thing that you pointed out is like having a surrounding group of people that influence you. And it's really interesting. So I grew up in the country, rural Queensland. I come from a very farming orientated family. My parents and my grandparents taught me about seasons, looking at the clouds, the weather, the animals, observation, what the moon was doing. We actually used to read the moon. I could tell, I can still do it now. It's like you can read the moon to tell you when the rain's coming. It's amazing. And it still works now, which is just insane. But I was taught to observe at a very young age, the sky's pink this afternoon. Oh, we've got to make sure we put an extra blanket on the bed because it's going to be cold in the morning. But here's the thing, I didn't get taught to observe self. I got taught to observe what was around me. So at a very determined young age, I was like, that's it. I'm leaving this place. I need to explore something bigger, greater. I can't remember what the triggering moment was. The only thing that came to me was like my mum. I remember we went to a bookshop and I picked out a book about my star sign, and I was very fascinated about it. And I have always read my horoscopes ever since reading that book. But I read it so many times. I'm like, wow, I'm creative. It just described me to like the T. And I was like, oh, finally, like something that understood me, because I was so different from, everyone around me. I was always laughed at a lot as a kid because I was so different. I had blonde hair, blue eyes, I was the milkman's daughter. I'm like, really? You don't say that. But they did. But anyway, I knew that I was different. I was in tune, but I didn't understand it. And as I left into the real world, I soon became friends with people who I guess became my mentors over time. And the first woman who came into my life actually taught me about crystals. And that's when I actually had the same hand feeling, like holding a crystal in your hands, like the heat. Like, so I'm very sensory. I'm very practical in that sense. So I sense things through heat and things like that. But she taught me all about that. And ever since, you know, I've always carried like clear quartz, you know, backpacking around the world. I've had one in my boob, or, you know, different sorts of crystals over time, because, you know, depending on what I was doing, what I needed. And that was really beautiful. And then I went overseas and I was like a fish out of water over there. Like, it was insane. You know, this magical, historical place. And I had this connection to energy. And I remember just walking through the place, and, you know, I lived in Somerset, so right near Glastonbury.
Oh, gorgeous.
I lived in Edinburgh for like a year as well. And these two magical places, you know, I was just sensory overload. I didn't know, no one had taught me about being aware of self, being aware of like these feelings, emotions, and just sensory things. Like, the crystals were good, but like, that's as much as I knew. I read my horoscope and did crystals. So that was it. So to go over there and just have this sensory overload of this magic, you know, I didn't know what to do. I was completely at a whim, you know. I was too busy also probably getting drunk, working at bars, you know, as the Australian backpacker does, and just living life. But, you know, I'd go into places and just be like, oh, I need to walk out of here. You know, it doesn't feel right. Like, I had that, but I never understood it. And the next lady who came into my life when I came back to Australia taught me about essential oils, Eckhart Tolle. She made me watch the movie. Well, she didn't make me. I chose to, on her recommendation, watch The Secret. And I was like, oh, wow, this is cool. And then Louise Hay came into my life. I think I was just 23. This is when I started my business at this time as well, my first one. And yeah, I was just like, oh, wow, this is like this crazy new thing. But I was so, like, to me, I was so young. And I just still didn't get it. Like, I just needed some sort of practical mindset around it, because I needed the hands-on. Like, it's so good to like absorb this information, but nothing was kind of like registering until recently again. But yeah, I've always had these female mentors that have come in through my life and danced with me along the way to help me, I guess, be my guide. And they've always been an external part of like my friendship circle. However, my husband is the Zen master of all Zen. I'll probably talk more about him later, but I met him and he grew up where we live now, in the rainforest. And, you know, his philosophy on life is, you know, don't live for tomorrow, live for today. And he is very much, you know, about the present. And because I've grown up in, okay, the future, I'm driving for the future, I'm working hard, you know, the crops are going to get rained on. We're going to do this. We're going to, you know, do that. And he's pulled me back into reality. It's taken like, when did I meet him? 2007, I think we started dating. So it's taken a long time for me to actually get to his page. But he's been, I guess, slowly mentoring me this whole entire way to this different way of thinking. But I've had to do it in my own way. And also he's given me that space to do that, which is really, really beautiful. So yeah, I've been really lucky to have amazing people just come into my life and teach me lessons, for the whole entire time. So yeah, I think that's it.
Amazing. And I love that. I can hear the gratitude of the flavors of different people teaching you different things, and how that's shaped where your journey has taken you up to now, and especially your husband. How fabulous! And that, a Zen master in the house here would be really nice. That has to be me and us. My attempts at it. And that point that you made too was about books that you can kind of take in at one level, but you haven't taken in all the way. Because I do remember when I first read Eckhart Tolle, it spoke to me at the core. And I'd give it to other people and go, this is amazing, this stuff. And they'd be like on the first page going, I don't get it. I just don't understand what he's trying to say. Oh, how can you not get this stuff? Which was, hopefully more compassionate for everybody at their different levels on their journey these days, and understand that not everyone will get it. Especially though, that I would have suggested that since you've got that sensory you've acknowledged it, that you can feel things a lot. I really could feel his words when I read them. So you've touched on so many beautiful things, Lizzie, and I wanted to ask you next, what does it look like now for you? So how do you weave spirituality into your everyday as you work towards Zen mastership or whatever it is that's your end goal with spirituality? I love it. Present moment. Beautiful. Love it.
Yeah, it's absolutely a present moment. And that's the thing, going back to my philosophy, life is so much more than conventional success. So, I am very grateful for the support of my husband in that respect of teaching me that this moment in time right now is worth to be enjoyed. Like, there's no point stressing about, is dinner ready in 10 minutes? So I have, over the last 2-3 years, taken meditation to a whole new level in my world. And it's probably been the number one thing to really help me hone in and acknowledge like myself and my thoughts, because I found that I'm very sensory. So those feelings, like, they're awesome. But the thing is, I never took the time to listen to them. So there's the thing, like, I was sensory, and that's the thing. Like, I'm like, how can I work this up? It's like, quieten the mind, right? Like, be still, be present, and then you can actually work out why. And I never had that opportunity until recently to go, I finally put all the pieces together. Yay. So yeah, and that's the thing, meditation for me, and I'm going to be honest, I still wish I meditated every day. I still don't have a concrete practice. I've got 2 kids. It's just one of those beautiful things that life delivers what it does. So if I try my best, I'm meditating before lunch every day if I can. And then, yeah, I focus on that. I read so much that to fuel my fire, because I'm finding now that I think once you get that first taste of spirituality, you just like pull it in, like, give me more, give me more, give me more. Like, I want to learn everything. So that's a part of it. And then journaling is my other part. So journaling has been something I've played with on and off for like years. Like, when I used to go traveling, like 10, 15 years ago, you would write a journal on paper. So the first time I went traveling, that's what I did, and it was really beautiful. And the second time was on a computer, but now I've gone back to writing in hand. And to me, that's been really beneficial for me and my spiritual practice, because, yeah, I'm acknowledging now my thoughts, and I'm declaring stuff as well, which is just so beautiful and really powerful as well. The other thing for me is movement. I'm really lucky because I'm surrounded by nature. So a part of my spiritual practice is to remain connected to the earth. I'm from a farm. I'm from, that beautiful connected earth. Like, the earth is in my blood. So I need to remain in nature, and I'm lucky for where I live. So I can literally walk out my door 2 meters and I'm surrounded by bush, and I can keep walking for another 2 kilometers, and I have that experience of just being completely surrendering to what's around me. And that's just been something that I love doing, and also being like disconnected as well when I do it. So it's just me. There's no headphones. It's just Liz, clothes, shoes, whatever state I'm in, out the door, let's go and experience what's around me. So that's a nature practice. And then also dancing. This is a very new practice for me, and I love it. A shout out to Nikki Ayres, who introduced this to me. It must have been early November. It's just a dance, just for the fun of it. Like, I always used to dance. Oh, Nikki Ayres.
Yeah, sorry, I think it just cut out, so we might have to put her name at the bottom, but that's perfect. Please continue.
No worries. Yeah, so Nikki Ayres, I'll say that again. Yes, she inspired me to move my body more and just do it from a place of fun, joy, and letting go. And it was a huge moment, because I remember dancing when I was like, in my early 20s, I went for fun and I loved it. But for some reason, it's like I got taught to grow up or something. And then dancing, you don't do that, I'm like, but I love it. So I brought that back in, and my kids and I now every morning have a little dance session in our kitchen to start our day. And it's just so much fun. Seriously, they've got some awesome moves, but It makes my day. And then another part of my spiritual practice would be that if I feel called, I have some amazing cards that I choose one if I need guidance. So I remember buying my first deck when I lived in Somerset. Funnily enough, I bought it in Glastonbury because I was like, I need to get my I actually bought tarot cards, I think. Yeah, I bought tarot cards. And I was like, I need them. That's what I need. But now I'm like, okay, spiritual guidance, oracle cards. When I need I don't know, for the universe to feel like I'm feeling supported, I just go, okay, I just shuffle the cards and wait for one to jump out. And within usually seconds, one jumps out and it's like exactly what I need to know. And I'm just like, yes, okay, back in power. This is what I needed to hear. And just keep moving forward. So I think those are my things.
I love all of those things. And it's so funny because they are coming through in a lot of the conversations, meditation, journaling. But what I really love is that you mentioned dance again. That's come up quite a few times. I feel like I'm going to need to go and explore it a bit more. We even had Jill Lucina was on earlier, and she's a choir teacher, which is sort of another conscious movement type practice. So amazing. And actually, though, I did wonder, just because it's come up quite a few times, would you share with us your journaling? How do you start it off? So you get your piece of paper, you're going to write it down. Do you write, dear universe, here I am, what should I write? Tell me, do you have a way that you work with it?
I do. And I love that you've said this because I get asked about how I journal all the time. So something that I believe in a lot is law of attraction and creating, the powers of the universe and all this beautiful magic that's around us and everything. So my journaling practice encompasses that. So I journal in the morning because it's easy for me with my kids and my family routine. I would love to do it in the evenings. Sometimes I do, but generally speaking, always in the morning because I don't have the flexibility at this stage. But I write every morning what I wish to manifest. It's the first thing. So I write manifesting ... Okay, what do I want? What do I really, really want? And so I write what I want. I want to create X, Y, and Z. I want to have however many clients. I want to travel to Japan. FYI, I'm going. I want to build a bathroom, expand my bathroom for my kids and have a bathtub in it. Whatever it is that you want. And it can be trivial, big, small, whatever. And it could be something that's happening on the day or bigger future. However, I'm just going to share one little thing. I journal one thing, really hardcore, a 90-day big, juicy, fat goal that I want every 3 or so months just to align with where I'm going. But then usually my daily ones are I want a new car. I want to I don't know. I want a peaceful day with my kids with no stress or whatever it is. You can ask for anything. So that's what I do. I write my manifestation list. And, that takes 2-3 minutes because usually, I don't know, I'm not greedy. I live a simple life. I don't need much. So I only ask for what I really, really want. And then I go into what I'm grateful for. So put a little flower symbol. It's funny because I'm really about structure and organizing things. So my diary is very organized. So then I go into grateful. So I go into all the things that I'm grateful for. And I always start off with how beautiful and lucky I am to live where I live. So lucky to live in nature. And then I go into things that may have happened, or grateful for an experience that I've had, or grateful for something to come. So I'm grateful for, my client call today and that they're going to say yes, so I preempt some of my gratefuls, but I also go into the now gratefuls. But I'm not going, hey, I'm grateful for 10 years that I've earned $1 million or something crazy like that. It's tangible, beautiful things that are happening, have happened, or are about to happen for me with the gratefuls. And then I do a third thing. I do 3 things. So I don't always do this third one. I prefer to do this one at the nighttime. This is why I prefer journaling at night. But I do it in the morning sometimes, especially when I'm blocked. I find that when I get blocked, I need to work out what's going on. And that's why I do this practice, which is usually observing something that's going on right now. So say, for example, what was my last one? I had a money block. I can't remember what it was about now. But anyway, I was like, I just need some money. I'm like really getting frustrated and anxious about like, why don't I have any money? Okay, so what are my story here? Like, what's my story? So I work out what my story is about. Why don't I have money? And then I do this big journaling process about accepting and letting go of it. So I go, okay, so right now my situation is this. I believe this. So now I accept that I've done this. This is a behavior that I've learned. I'm releasing this behavior. I no longer require it. I forgive the people who I may have learnt it from or myself for learning it. I forgive anyone else that's come into this scenario, and then I release and let it go. And the amount of times that I release and let it go is written in there like a zillion times, as well as forgiveness, because it's a learning process. This is how I learn. So from now, like I practice this whenever I feel like anything's stuck or icky. And it could be something so simple, like someone triggering you, or, like, I don't know, just anything. Like you're just like, okay, I need to like work out why and let it go. And I'm also with that practice, the big money block that as an example, that I had, it took me 4 to 5 days to go back over that money block, with different stories as to why I believed that story. Because I can't remember, I think it was something to do about self-worth, and I had to work hard for money. That's what it was. I have to work hard for money. So that's why it doesn't come easily. So I went through all these different stories as to why I believed that and how that story came about. So like remembering what parents did, or when I had my first job, like how they, paid me $3.50 an hour. Mind you, I'm old now, I guess. So it's probably normal. It was
not that old.
Anyway, it's like all these stories, so like I went through different days and wrote different stories out to release them. But I always only ever release one old story a day, because I find that it needs my time to absorb and process that and go, oh, wow, cool. I've just moved on from that one. That feels good. Yeah, exactly. So that's exactly right. So that's my journaling process.
Oh, awesome. I love that. I didn't know what I was going to get there. Like, a few opening words or something. Yay. Manifesting, gratitude,
yes,
and block clearing all in one. Amazing. Perfect. Love it. Thank you. And I bet that will there will be people that are like, this journaling thing but I don't know how to do it. So there you go. Somewhere to start. That's perfect.
Yes.
So can you, as somebody who has self-declared herself as a newbie to spirituality, and yet I feel has actually been quite exposed over your life to it, it's maybe just referring to yourself as that is a new thing. Is there any advice that you have for somebody who is ready to go, okay, I might play with this inner world of mine, see what I can find? What would you have to say to someone new and curious?
Well, if they're like me, it takes time. I've had the trickling and stepping stones along the way. And that's the thing. I also feel sometimes you lean into something, you're like, okay, so first of all, I'm a Cancerian. Okay, we're going back to this reference, my star sign. Cancerians, we have little shells, right? We're soft and gooey on the inside. And when we like freak out, we go back in our shell, right? So it's the same thing. Like for me, like go out, feel it out, feel what's good. If it's not working, go back in. Okay, what was going on? Go back out, go back in. Like feel it out and just take your time with it. There's no rush. Like, and that's the thing. Like for me, I feel like I'm more connected than I have ever been, especially over the last 2 years, and more so even now today than my whole entire life. Like I was aware to a certain degree, but now I'm like, oh my God, I actually understand it all. I didn't get like this, like in like days. I honestly, like, this is a lifetime's work. Spirituality is a lifetime. And, you know, taking that time to give yourself a break as well, because also, holy crap, there's so much information. Like, you know, our thoughts and our minds are so powerful. You know, I remember that book, you know, Joe Dispenza, like 90,000 thoughts a day. Like, how the hell am I supposed to monitor that shit? You know, it's just not possible. I'm like, choose what's like you need to focus on and what's working for you. You know, like, just choose one thing. Okay, I want to play with crystals. And, you know, it's funny because my life has been that one thing. I've always been that one thing. Oh, here's a lady who's like, oh, crystals. I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. There's another lady, oh, essential oils. I'm like, yeah, you know, like, feel into it, you know. And that's the same thing. Like, then it became the books, and then it's like, you know, Audible. Like, seriously, like, you can listen. And I have to also, I can't remember where I learnt this from, but someone told me that by just listening, for starters, is like a really great way to start the process. You don't have to necessarily action it, but if you hear something enough, you're like leaning into it. It feels more comfortable because it starts getting known and safe. So you may not go out and buy your first crystal, say for example, you're audio booking crystals, but then you want to go buy one, but you've just absorbed all this information. So when you go to the place to buy the crystal, you're like, oh, okay, like, what do I do? Like, you can explore that, but you've got a bit of information with you to go do that. And also, here's the other thing. So crystals, say for example, I just did it on Friday last week. I went to Crystal Castle here in Byron Bay, and I bolted through the door with my kids and like being wild. I was like, I need a crystal for this. I'm like, just give it to me. You can ask for help and ask other people. So if you can feel somebody's kind of like, you know, on the same wavelength, like, ask for help, direction. Like, you know, a lot of my conversations and my learning came from people who are like, why do you have that, you know, chunk of quartz, blah, 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 you know, or actually I would have said rock, be realistic. Why do you have that rock? You know? And, you know, they're like, well, it's a clear quartz. I'm like, well, what's that for? You know, and like, ask questions. Be a curious kid. Like, this is one of my attributes that I still am now, like 35, and I still act like a kid. Be curious. If you want to know something, you will find it and ask people about it. Like, everyone's willing to help you. You just need to ask for it. Someone can recommend a book, and it can just be simply, you know, a mentor or someone you admire. Hey, what's this great book about X, Y, and Z? Like, I do it all the time. There's always someone who's doing something, you know, that you're not, and that's okay for starters as well. But go and find out what they're absorbed in. You know, life's too short to just sit around and wait, I guess. Oh, what was my other one? Find mentors. That's the other one. Just remembered.
Which is sort of what you're
find mentors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just stress that to the point. So ask for the help, but yeah, get the mentors. And it can be paid, non-paid, Facebook group, Instagram, your best friend that you go and get your nails done with, whatever. Like, just find people that you can surround yourself with that are on your wavelength, conscious, aware, and want to have the discussions, because it will become a lot easier for you to, one, talk about it, but also easy for your journey as well. Yeah.
Oh, so much advice, but so good. I love all of that. And there was something in there that I was really, I was going to touch on the fact that, that earlier I mentioned about Eckhart Tolle, and you pulled his name out. And it's also, there's this element of, sometimes you need to hear it from different people, you know, because he's really weird and odd. And some people might be like, weird and odd being wonderful things, by the way, if Eckhart ever happens to watch this, because I think he's amazing. But some people just won't get it. Hearing the same message from somebody else, and they'll be like, oh, is that what he's trying to say? I don't get it when he says it, but I get it when that person over there tries to say it. And so that mentors that, you kind of resonate with, or friends that you can just have a conversation where they're not looking at you like you're completely loopy, and you can actually just play with ideas. You know, I used to try and talk to people when I was younger because I was always interested in science, and I'd say, oh, there's all this DNA that we know we're not using. If we knew how to affect our atoms, then technically we could walk through a table, right? Because it's just atoms and I'm atoms. And if I knew how to get my atoms to move apart, then I could walk through the table. Oh my God, people thought I was crazy. I used to be like, we could fly. If we knew how to, you know, if we could oppose gravity at the right thing, then we technically, you know, how do we know? And people just thought I was mad. Like, I didn't want to even have the conversation. I'm like, I'm just playing with ideas here. Like, just play with it because it's fun. Please, sorry, I'm chattering on.
No, I have to share a truth because now you've said it so many times. First of all, I've still never read anything to do with Eckhart Tolle.
I swear you said his name.
I know, but guess what?
Oh.
I was introduced to him. However, the amount of people in my life, it's still something. See, that's the thing. I'm a newbie. Things take time.
Yeah.
And exactly reinstating like what you were saying is, you know, like someone will recommend something to you, but it may not be the time. And especially for me right now, the amount of people that are like, Eckhart Tolle. And I was like, where does this come back from? And it was back from like, you know, oh, I don't want to put a number on it, 15, that'll do. That someone introduced that name to me. And it's taken me 15 years to go, oh, maybe I need to go and start reading this. So I think that was really powerful what you just said, because it's so true, because there's other things that I've read
I think
have been equally of value at the right time.
Yeah, I think I just lost you for a second there. But I think his first book came out in sort of 1999, and it took at least 10 years before anyone had really heard about him. You know, so and now he's huge and he's everywhere and he's doing conferences globally and stuff. But he certainly didn't start out that way. He just had this awakening. He had an awakening moment, which I think, you know, a few people have. I probably should have more said, tell me about awakening moments. Have you had one? Have you had an enlightened experience? Because it's quite cool if you have.
Well, mine was the breath work.
The breath work. Oh my God, if you want one, go and do breath work, because that is one way I think that, you know, you're certainly going to start to feel things that you haven't felt before.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, and that's the thing, like, you would always, like, everyone's got their own limitations and feelings, you know, like it could be jumping out of a plane and skydiving or whatever, like that could be your thing, you know, like, but breath work for me was just seriously powerful stuff. Seriously powerful. Like you out of your body, but you're in it at the same time. Just, yeah, really beautiful. And I think that's a really powerful question to be asking.
Yeah.
Do breath work, everybody.
Hoping everyone will just tell me if you've had an enlightened experience. It'll come out as a high or a low on the journey.
Do it. Breath work.
Do it. Breath work. Yes, I only did it for the first time last year too, and it was amazing. So thank you so much for everything you've shared. I love it because, and what we're doing here is just, you know, offering lots of different perspectives in the hope that people will find somebody that's, you know, that gets their curiosity tweaked. They're like, oh, okay, that makes sense, or I can connect with that, or that, you know, maybe I will go. And because one thing that in my experience anyway is like learning this stuff and exploring this stuff makes me a better person. You know, it makes me show up in my life as a better person. Now, maybe other people have got other things that drive them, but spirituality for me has been such a big thing for that. So thank you for all of your beautiful wisdom today. And I would love to add now, please share a bit more about what you do, and if someone wants to work with you, where they would go to find you.
Sure. So I'm at lizziemoult.com, MOULT, not Moult. I offer business and success coaching, and I'm also putting together a conference this year, but you'll need to watch this space to do that. It'll all come very soon. And I also have a beautiful opt-in for anyone who is an entrepreneur and wants to become wildly successful. And it's 6 tips that I share, and they're really tied into spirituality, because I try and mix the spiritual side with business in a beautiful meshed way, because if your mind's not on board and your heart's not on board to like be in your business, then you're not going to be able to show up. So that's how I work with my clients. I what's the word? I nurture them to like feel into the fear and just be a little bit wild. You know, I've always lived, you know, out of sync with everyone else. I mean, very comfortable doing that. And I just want to help more people just to like, yes, this is me. Take ownership. Let's go. So yeah, the link for that also, I presume we'll add a link for that opt-in.
Yes, of course. I will put
very,
all of those.
Very beautiful and very powerful.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much for being here. And
Thank you so much for having me
on your podcast. So soon I can listen to you there.
Yeah, I should mention that. So I host the Wild Success podcast. I didn't even think of that.
So
thank you. So it's sharing stories of people who are chasing wild success. It's for the dream chasers. There's business in there. I featured Joe about awareness, and there's lots of other juicy conversations around business, spirituality, mindset, and just growing in life.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much, Lizzie. Talk soon.
Thank you.
Bye.